Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed Pod. This is episode 71. I'm your host today, Kareem Anderson, and I'm joined by.
David Allen. Hope everybody's doing well. I think my co host and I were both a little bit under the weather, so you're just going to have to work with us a little bit this week.
Yes, the enthusiasm might be down, but the news is up. So we will make sure to get you guys informed, and then we will get you out so we can go take some medicine and be back with you at our usually more bubbly personalities next week. For this week, though, let's get you guys into what we're talking about. We got Microsoft reorganizing Windows for the umpteenth time, but this time it'll work, right? Who knows? We got Copilot adoption reveals the limited space in which Microsoft's working in. They wanted to bring Google dancing to the table, and they may have, not known what they were getting themselves into fully. We're going to be talking about EA selling to a private equity consortium for $55 billion and what that means for the state of gaming. Then, on the same token, we have some big Xbox news. Game Pass has gone up in price. What that means for gamers in general, where people are fleeing. This feels like one of those we just hit the iceberg in the Titanic, and everyone's looking for a life raft right now. And I didn't put it in the show notes, but I will briefly talk about Amazon perhaps being one of those life rafts. They talked about their
Mm-hmm.
Luna, I think it's called Luna revamp. We'll briefly cover that, and then we're going to get into Xbox AI power strategy and what that means again for gaming. It's really gaming heavy this week, and then we got our free play days because you guys like those, and then we'll let you guys coast into the weekend to enjoy all of that gaming that we're talking about. With that being said, would you like to say anything before I get into the heavy news about the reorg?
Well, I think we're in that season. I think this is the right pod to say it. We're in that season, and since we've got a game heavy pod this week, I think it's important that we've got the Call of Duties coming up. We've got the Battlefields coming up for those sim racing fans. We were just talking about sim. We've got NASCAR 25 coming to the Xbox for the first time in many years. That's made by the producers of iRacing. So we're in that season where we're getting the end of the year events. We're getting the end of the year games. These companies are slowly making that turn to the holiday push to get your holiday dollars.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up and informing everybody. We're going to get into this news about the Microsoft reorg. If you're rolling your eyes, try not to pass out from doing it so hard. But yes, Microsoft is reorganizing Windows once again. This will be under the leadership of Pavan Davuluri. I horribly mispronounced that. I
Killed it,
apologize
buddy.
for disrespect. Yes, I literally figuratively killed his last name. Um, as usual, this is an idea to consolidate and make sure things are streamlined. Just to kind of give everyone a little context, the last major reorg that was of any significance, I suppose, is right after Panos Panay left. Before that, they kind of streamlined everything through Panos. And for our new listeners, anybody who is new to Windows or Microsoft news in general, Panos was like the guy. He was the guy for roughly 8 to 10 years, and before him, who was the Windows 8 guy?
Who was the Windows 8 guy?
Sinofsky.
Yes.
Sinofsky was the Windows 8 guy, and he was kind of brought in under him. He'd come out, and they would kind of both showcase the new Surfaces at the time when they were those little chunky tablets. Sinofsky was kicked off the team. Then we had Teddy. God, what was his name? There's another guy, Teddy something or other. I apologize. He's a really good guy. We've talked every now and then. But anyway, Teddy and Panos kind of tag team Windows, with Panos being the hardware guy and Teddy being the Windows guy. And he'd come out and extol the virtues of Windows 10, and Panos would come out and say, hey, these are all the new devices that Windows 10 is going to be on, and they're going to be awesome. Same thing for the Lumia smartphone devices. And eventually, Teddy left as well, and then Panos just kind of took over everything. And it just made more sense that if you're going to create, just like Apple does, create the hardware, maybe you have some input on how that software works with the hardware. That was the goal. That was the intention. Since Panos' departure, though, from Microsoft in 2023, who he is now in Amazon, and he had a whole showcase, we can probably hint about it as well. The leadership of Windows Surface has kind of undergone several strategic shifts. Initially, Microsoft split Panos' responsibilities between Mikhail Parakin, who led the Windows engineering team with the web first focus, the PWAs and stuff like that, and Pavan, who was there. He oversaw Surface and Windows hardware. The dual structure created some internal friction because you have one guy wanting to focus on PWAs while the other guy is saying, hey, let's make some things that make the hardware sellable. For a software focused company, obviously that meant putting Pavan kind of on the sideline for a little bit, um, especially when they decided to pivot towards AI, and it really kind of just sat everyone down for a second. Fortunately, Snapdragon came in with these NPUs, and a bunch of other computer chip manufacturers figured out, hey, we could put the NPUs into these devices, and that'll be another selling point. This is why you get all these Copilot Plus branded PCs. That's another way to kind of push PCs and make Pavan relevant. But apparently, this month, Microsoft reconsolidated both divisions under Pavan, signaling a return to unified leadership. I don't know exactly what happens to Mikhail. I guess he just goes back to PWAs and cloud focused stuff that he was doing before. I'm not sure. I didn't follow up on that. But we at least have the hardware guy in front of Windows, and we'll see if he can become our next Panos and at least get people excited. There was just like a lull in Surface news for a while because they were focused on AI and just kind of flushing the rest of the software that I guess Panos had worked on out of the system. So who knows? Maybe in 2026 when we get these new Snapdragon X Elite 2 chips and new hardware, and then maybe we won't need fans. We'll get some new designs and some enthusiasm back behind the hardware. What are your thoughts on yet another Windows reconsolidation? And see, if this changes even just the UI too. Like we still have tons of UI elements that need to be fixed in Windows.
I think Microsoft is searching for some type of identity. And I don't mean that as far as a software maker, a hardware maker, or what they're doing, but I think the industry in general, not just Microsoft, I think everybody's searching for an identity. We've got AI out there, which was just kind of thrown out, and it wasn't build an operating system around AI, which was kind of what we thought Windows 12 was going to be, and we thought by now we would be seeing it. And maybe we do see Windows 12 that is AI focused at some point. But I think this we've had to infuse AI into our existing operating system, and I think Microsoft is scrambling a little bit to figure out what do we want Windows to be, how much AI, how little AI, what we want AI to do, how do we want how do we want to subsidize it? What do we want to charge people for? Because we're going to talk about that later in the pod with price increases. What do we want to charge people for? Is Windows still going to be free? Because if you remember, there was a time that if you wanted a Windows upgrade, you went to your local retailer and you purchased a disk or you downloaded your software. So I think we're going through that phase of we're going to keep shuffling people in and out and we're going to keep reorganizing teams until we figure out internally what do we want Windows to be to present to our consumers. And I'm not faulting Microsoft as hard for maybe this reorganization because I think the whole industry, tech industry in general, we're at this boundary of how much AI, how little AI, what AI gets charged for, what AI is free, how can we lure people in to pay that subscription. I think the whole industry is feeling that. I think Apple is feeling that. That's why we didn't see a big mention of Apple during or a big mention of AI during the Apple event a few weeks ago when they unveiled the new iPhone. I think everybody's scrambling to, we have this new technology, we've got to plug it into what exists. I mean, look at the Google event this past week where they made it clear that we are infusing Gemini into hardware that is 10 years old. We're not going to make you purchase hardware to get these benefits. So I think Microsoft is trying to figure out where Windows is going, how AI fits, how to sell it, how to brand it, how to present it.
Yeah, we'll see. I remember a few years ago there was talks of like Windows Core OS and how to do thin clients and stuff like that. It was just ways to kind of get Windows all over the place. It seems like that's perhaps in the background now as everything
Could
kind
be.
of moves towards functioning everything through AI and putting AI in all of the software and services. And I think eventually, when you start sprinkling AI through every part of your OS, it'll eventually just become a prompt. Just like we went from a command to GUI. I think you're going to just have a little search bubble that comes up that says, "Hey, what do you want to do with this screen?" And you can start to just write up stuff. And if that's a future of Windows, that'll be interesting to see if they do that. But for right now, it just seems like they are going to keep testing some AI features, try and sell it to the public. As far as the hardware is concerned, I'm not certain what exciting things we're going to see on that front, but this is Windows. This is not. Go ahead.
How much? Well, you bring up a good point, and I'll button it here, I promise. But I saw a post yesterday about it. How much Windows do we need in front of us? And when I say that, look at this from Microsoft's point of view. They keep building the brand name 365, whether it's Windows 365, Office 365, Office 365 for business, etc. Imagine a world for just a minute, because since you said the word thin client, imagine a world for just a minute where Microsoft sells everybody a virtual desktop.
Yeah, I mean that
You
was
know,
what we a
I
few years back.
could totally see us getting to that point. Maybe we don't get there before you and I hit retirement age, but I could see us getting to that point to where you go home and your screens is in front of you and you tap, and like you said, there's the search bar of what do you want to do, and you start typing and apps start appearing, and you pay your subscription based on the apps and uses that you need.
If I had to guess, that's exactly where most of these companies are going to. Some are starting from the mobile end, Android and Google, and perhaps Apple at some extent, and Microsoft from the desktop end, where again you put all this stuff into these AI machine learning clients or whatnot, and then you just log in with your credentials, and then whatever screen that it appears on, it can then draw on what it can do there. So again, if it's the AI from your desktop, you move it over with your account over to your screen on your refrigerator. It can do whatever the refrigerator allows it to do. Like, oh, I can check your fridge and give you your list, give you your cooking ingredients, and give you your timers. Take that same AI, take it over to your TV. Hey, I got your list of shows and schedules, and here's what's been pre-recorded for you. Take that same AI, go upstairs to your bedroom and turn it on with one of your speakers. Here's your podcast that you want to listen to, stuff like that. Take that same AI down on your phone. Here's all the stuff that you need to organize for your next trip that you're about to go to. And we've already called the Uber. Take that same AI, put it on your desktop. It's, hey, here's all the reports that you need while on your trip or whatever. And here's the windows open for it. And it just keeps moving like that. I'm assuming that's the future Microsoft wants. We'll see. I'm sure there'll be plenty of more reorgs under the way. But we just want to tell you guys that we've talked way too long about this. This is more structural than it is, revolutionary. But we will keep an eye on it and let you guys know what forms from it. Next, we got, speaking of AI and Copilot adoption, the future that we talked about is what Microsoft wants. Doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're going to get. Let me get the details on this. Microsoft, despite kind of leading the charge with AI, I think they are at, what is that? 8 million active paying customers, if that's not what, I think that's what it is, right? 8 million. And uh, that's just 1.8% of its 440 million subscriber base. So you have 440 million people who, subscribe or use it through some version of Microsoft's accounts or whatnot, but you only have 8 of them actually willing to pay for it. And that just highlights what people find valuable from AI. There's just not enough people. The low adoption rate is a broader challenge for generative AI in enterprise settings, including, just getting your return on investment, because we speak fluently through consumer perspectives. But this is also, we're assuming that this 8 million are probably mostly businesses. And they're going to want to see, what are we paying for and how does it either save us money or balance out in the end. And of 440 million people, you only got 8 of them to pay for it. Maybe not doing so hot. What are your thoughts on this?
I think you're spot on there. I think, and I was thinking while you were talking how I wanted to word this, because I noticed Notion, and I bring Notion up for a reason. They retooled how AI works in their product this week, and I haven't had a chance to try it, but I was thinking, how does Microsoft get things to work in their products? And you've kind of highlighted the fact that maybe most of the people using AI right now is business, and it doesn't feel like it's growing very fast with those numbers out there. You don't see a million people every quarter, or you're not hearing about it in the quarterly earnings. And I think that's a telltale sign. But I also think we're asking people to, and we've kind of touched on this before, we're asking people to adopt AI directly, like sit at the Copilot prompt and make things happen. Sit in the Excel spreadsheet, click the Copilot option, and make things happen. What Notion did, and the reason I bring it up, is they turned everything to AI agents. So I think what might work, or what could work, is an adjustment to where you're using AI through a source that is more focused, more customer friendly. And, somebody out there, well, David, we've got specific language models. You're correct. But we've got to present this to businesses, like take your accounting department, for example. You have an accounting agent. You tell your accounting department, hey, we've got this nice thing over here that will help you do your work. Notice how I put that. It will help you do your work. In today's generation, that's work less, play more. And all that agent does is accounting. They can't get sidetracked off into cooking and other, you know, things that they have no interest in. You may sell it that way, but this whole idea of everybody go buy a Copilot PC, everybody click the Copilot button on your keyboard, everybody, click the Copilot icon on your start menu. I don't think we're going to get anywhere with that, because it's like we talked about. Back in the day, you turned on a PC and you looked at C:\\window, blink, 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 blink. You had to know what to do. PCs did not take off until Windows was presented as a backdrop for what you wanted to do. I think in order for it to pick up, whether it's Microsoft, Google, or whoever, there's got to be some focus, some reason to make people say, yeah, I can do that. I mean, think of a vacation planning agent. People start typing ideas, tickets, passes, then you get people into, and you subsidize that AI maybe through their ticketing, maybe, through, how you charge people. But I don't know that we're going to get any further by just presenting people a prompt. I don't see it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely devastating news for Microsoft. It's a report based on collection of information from Ed Zitron. I would suggest you guys go read. He has a newsletter called "Where's Your Ed At?" He covers cloud and mostly the cloud bubble. That's been his perception. He's been pretty spot on with it. He's saying that even if we were to say of the 8 million users represented at of the 440 million of them, even if we assume 4 million were paid licenses, were just sitting unused, uh, which what happens when you buy a ton of businesses buy licenses and they don't have the employees to use them or whatnot. It's still only a 2.72 conversion rate, and this is for a company that has, what is that, a billion Windows users or whatever. And Copilot isn't cheap. It's $30 per user a month. So 8 million subscribers at $30 per user. That's still a nice little chunk of change that goes to Microsoft.
It is.
But they still have to expect growth and turn for the next quarter. So I don't understand. We'll see how well they continue playing the shuffle game when it comes to reporting, because at some point, OpenAI is not going to be the biggest cloud buyer, and they won't be able to just shuffle everything under that moniker of AI revenue investment. And they're going to have to actually show how they're growing their own AI department, AI business. So right now, seems like it's at least slow adoption for Microsoft. It's explosive growth for OpenAI, but the return on investment, people are still questioning. So I think AI in general is still relatively struggling, if you had to put a pin on that. The next thing we have is EA sells to private equity. This is a story you and I kind of were talking about over the weekend amongst each other. For anybody who lives under a rock, EA hasn't been doing very well. Even if you're a fan of their games, financially structured, they've kind of been on shaky ground. But as of, what was that, Saturday, I think it was?
It started brewing Saturday.
Yeah. So Saturday it started brewing. Then all of a sudden, I think it became a full-blown story as of Monday. But EA has been acquired by a private equity consortium for $55 billion, which is, again, the second largest buyout, I believe, behind Microsoft's 67 point something billion for Activision. This deal will take it private, so it will no longer be EA on the stock exchange or anything like that, and allows them to kind of, I guess, the idea was move more nimbly. You don't have to move everything against shareholders and against the board or anything like that. But in return, shareholders will receive $210 per share. I believe that's a 25% premium over EA's unaffected stock price of 168.32. So if you were holding on to EA and you're worried for a little bit, you're going to be paid off handsomely. The consortium itself is what puts the rest of EA's gaming future in question. It's the Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, the PIF, alongside Silver Lake and Affinity Partners, which is an investment firm headed by Jared Kushner. PIF already held a 9.9% stake in EA and will roll over its share in the new entity. Financing, the deal includes $36 billion in equity commitments and $20 billion in debt financing, which will be put on the company, and they'll have to figure their way out of paying on that. JP Morgan Chase is leading the debt portion of that. EA will delist from the NASDAQ, but continue to operate from its Redwood City, California headquarters. CEO Andrew Wilson will remain in place, with backers citing his leadership as a key asset. So ideally, whatever good he was doing will still maintain in place. Whatever bad he was doing, I don't know how they're going to adjust that. Now, the strategic implications of this buyout is that the consortium emphasizes strong IP portfolios that include EA Sports, FC, The Sims, Apex Legends, Madden NFL. We're assuming that the sovereign Saudi wealth fund involvement, kind of reflects their broader ambitions of being, more consumer friendly to Western markets. So I'd assume that they're going to try and do some tie-ins, like with FIFA, their Live Golf investments. I mean, strategically speaking, EA's biggest revenue driver are their services. So they're probably going to host a lot of EA, or what are they called? What are the games called? The sports. They could probably host a lot of esports things, either online or in the Saudi area, to kind of get gamers involved with that and associated with the brand. What are your thoughts on EA going private and then EA going private to Saudi Arabia in general?
I'll keep it quick. I'm a little concerned about the future of EA. As we talked about off mic, a lot of times these deals come in and the company eventually gets restructured. The investors get their payment and you're left with nothing and they tell you best of luck. And that could happen here. And I don't know how each area of EA factors into their revenue. Like how much does Madden bring? How much does, the golf game that they make bring? But I don't want to say EA's on its way out because we don't know. But there is a gut feeling inside of me that says the best days of popular EA titles like Madden, for example, the hockey games, for example, that people play, The Sims, that is very popular. The best days of those titles might be behind us. We might see some of those titles sold off as individual assets, maybe to other companies, other studios to work on. Maybe there's some interest there, but I think the EA as we know it, you know, EA Sports, it's in the game. That's what you and I grew up. That's done. I think that version of EA is long gone. And I'm sure there's somebody out there who is happy to have a portion of $55 billion in their pocket and they're living on an island somewhere. I'm happy for you. You worked hard, you earned your money. But for those of us that are looking for better games, I think there's some concern.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened when Microsoft bought Activision, and they are still beholden to public investment and public perception
Mm-hmm.
as a publicly traded company. You can only imagine what happens when you are taken private and saddled with a bunch of debt right off the bat. Again, when you hear the terms private equity, it's rarely ever a good outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Again, these private equity firms come in, saddle a company with debt, charge that company to pay off the debt while they are selling and optimizing the businesses, basically gutting it for parts. To your point, maybe selling off studios that use the resources and the subsidies from other things inside the company in order to maintain creativity and output. Now you're being sold off for just finances, and at the end of the day, they may or may not survive. They may or may not have the license to be as creative as they used to be. Again, the trimming of titles, the overlap, the cutting of employees, maybe moving offices overseas. I think it's going to have a bit of disruption up front. I do see a future where we're down to a few handful of games that are mostly sports related that will allow for esports tie-ins and services. I see software services prices going up while the list of games probably going down, but more concentrated. Maybe you get some DLCs and some really cool things out of that in the process. But I would say, and I'm just going bold here, I don't see EA being long for this world after 5 years.
I
Definitely not in its
agree.
current form. If it's beyond 5 years, it's very limited in what it does, and that's beyond the geopolitical aspects of what we're talking about as well. Next thing, we got Game Pass talking about doom and gloom for gaming. This is
Oh
your story.
boy.
I'm gonna let you run with this one. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna run with this one.
Segue.
And I'm going to run fast and try to keep it brief. But if you're a Game Pass subscriber here, you've really got some concerns, especially if you're in that ultimate tier. Your pocketbook is going to get a little bit lighter, and I'm not sure your game enjoyment is going to be greatly increased. So let's just jump right in. Xbox went up in price 50% on the Game Pass Ultimate subscription, going from $19.99 to $29.99, supposedly starting next month. We're in that 30-day window where you decide whether you're going to pay $29.99 next month. You're going to drop to one of their new other plans, which is the premium plan and the essential plan. Everybody needs at least the essential plan to be able to get online and get into the store and enjoy your titles. Um, Part of what Microsoft wanted to do here to entice you was add things to the premium plan, such as Fortnite bucks. If anybody has any interest in those, you get, I think it's 1,000 V bucks a month. You get the Ubisoft Classics that has been added to Game Pass Ultimate. I think they were in there once before for a brief time. Let's see, what else do you get? You get up to $100 a year in gaming rewards and discounts depending on what you play. And it kind of goes downhill from there. You get $50 a year in store rewards with the premium plan and $25 per year with the standard plan. Now, part of what was the selling point to some for Microsoft was cloud gaming. They put cloud gaming in each tier this time with supposedly cloud gaming for Xbox is so popular that if you get that ultimate plan, you're guaranteed shorter wait times and a 1440p experience on some devices in some games, while no list has been produced yet as to what games and devices get that 1440p. I have seen some Reddit posts where some folks are seeing 1440p on an Amazon Fire Stick. Nothing against the Amazon Fire Stick, but got that nice handheld coming out this month. I would think you'd want to be showing off that 1440p on the current handhelds, but hey, why not? We'll show it off on a Fire Stick. Now, what has been the gamers' response to this? She went up 50% on the ultimate pricing. I'm just going to break it down for you. It doesn't work. There was an article yesterday by Windows Central that said the servers at Microsoft were under load due to people canceling their subscription. We know at least a couple of other reporters that are well known in the Microsoft industry who have canceled their subscription as well. So I'm going to spin it back to you this way. It doesn't appear that anybody wants the price increase for Ultimate. Let me be clear that there was not a price increase for Premium or the Essential down below. Those stayed at $24.99 and $14.99 respectively. Now, what does Microsoft do from here? Do they care and say, come back in a few weeks and say, well, we didn't listen, we misunderstood. So here's what we've done for gamers, and oh, we're going to throw in a free title if you come back. Something like that. You know, what does Microsoft do? And I can give you a dozen reasons as to why they did it. They got to pay the Activision bill, kind of like you just mentioned with EA. They got to pay that Activision bill that is still out there. I can give you a dozen reasons as to why they did it, but how do they respond to it? I think is more important.
Yeah, I would hope that they respond quickly and they backtrack. And this may be, I'm very cynical. This might be a strategic move to shift the Overton window on pricing. What you do is you overshoot, like when you're negotiating, so that anything that comes underneath it seems reasonable. So if the idea is, hey, I want to, turn the fire up on the frog boiling in the pan, if I turn it all the way up to high and it starts hopping around, I can turn it down to low and it just feels better. Even though at the same time it's still cooking. So, who knows if they come back and say, all right, we heard you guys. Sorry, we went too high. We'll bring it down by, $2 more. If people are like, whew, thank you, you're finally listening, even though the price increase is still there. It's just not as much. And it could have been their plan all along. Uh, I say I hope they respond quickly because to your point of the servers being overloaded, like we're going into some relatively uncharted times as far as the economics, at least here in the U.S. And I don't think you're going to be able to play these types of lever games and get the same sort of results as before. So I think when you lose these certain people, and again, Microsoft's been shedding branding and goodwill since the Xbox One. Those of us who have stayed have been diehard, but when you start to lose the diehards, you're not getting those back either. And it'll take a whole re-envisioning, if that, to get new people on. Everyone's going to kind of go with the momentum. And right now, Sony has momentum. They have the players. They don't necessarily have the infrastructure like Microsoft does for a Game Pass situation, but any games you want to play, most of your friends are on PSN network and stuff like that. So if they ever do decide to kick up a Game Pass situation, it's be like, hey, you know what, Microsoft, I was there because you had all the digital stuff that was cool, but all my friends are over here. And now they have all the digital stuff that's cool too. We don't need you anymore. And to that point, there's, I think I was mentioning at the top, Amazon had an event where they're revamping Luna and they're making it more of a casual thing where it's, we're not going to focus on getting Call of Duty, stuff like that out of the gate. We're going to be the party thing. Like, when people are over and they're saying, hey, what's the thing we can do all together? And it doesn't have to be Mario Kart necessarily, but we want to do, the box, board games, but on screen. Maybe we want to do something that, like a Dance Dance Revolution where all of us are on moving and stuff like that. Like we're not, this isn't I'm the lonely person sitting at a couch by myself, focused for 3 hours at a time on this game. This is more, hey, there's two of us in a house. We both want to use the TV. Let's hop on this thing real quick. Netflix has been doing it. They've been, showcasing their casual games. And casual players, they get addicted to the ambiance of gaming, not necessarily the nuance of gaming. They like the idea, like, hey, I'm doing something that's fun that isn't watching TV, that isn't listening to something, but it's an activity. And I'll pay for that experience. And they're baking it into Prime. So it's already a built in cost for them. They don't even have to think twice about doing it. And they'll do it more and more even as the price of Prime goes up because they incorporate a bunch of stuff into it. Microsoft doesn't have a bundle like that. So they are treading very lightly with this price increase because they are about to lose a lot of people and people have places to go. And I say it's kind of a tumultuous time is also because price increases are happening across the board for everybody and everything in the household. And the first things that are going to start going are these superfluous subscriptions. You say, you know what? This Christmas, I got to take the next 3 months off. I can't pay you $30 or $90 or whatever for the next 3 months. I gotta pay for rent. I gotta pay for gas. Bread's gone up. Sorry, Microsoft. For the next 3 months, I'm out. And then those 3 months become 6 months, and those 6 months become a year. And maybe they buy their one game for the console a year. Now you've lost that person. You've lost that revenue because you were messing around with the numbers too much. So not now that people have a lot of money to spare. And like I said, these subscriptions are some of the easiest things to cancel.
It's going to be interesting, and you brought up one more point. They did this right here before the holiday season, which really doesn't help them out because people that might be looking to buy the Xbox or even buy that nice handheld that comes out in a little under 2 weeks. Well, I've got to have that Game Pass because I'm not paying $29.99 a month for. So therefore, guess what? They're not going to buy the handheld either. So
Well,
Microsoft,
they may, because you got to understand the mindset of someone who would buy something like this. This is a
that's
PC.
true.
What they're going to do though is they're going to use Steam.
That's true.
And if that's the case, why not just buy the Steam Deck?
So Microsoft has got something they need to figure out, unwind, or do something here, and do it as you said. Do it quickly.
Yeah, they may have just shot themselves in the foot with the handhelds. At least their version of handhelds. Steam Decks, they're doing well. They perform. The operating system's been doing well. So if that's the case, and you've said, you know what, I'm not paying the $30 for that, I'll just go get a Steam Deck and do the same thing I was going to do with the Xbox and the ROG Ally and stuff like that. So they gotta, I think, repivot and salvage whatever goodwill they have left in the tank. You're talking about Xbox AI powered strategy. What's that about?
Let's see what else we've got here. Okay, yes. I wanted to briefly mention this for just a minute because we're talking about user safety. Basically, long story short, Microsoft has been leveraging AI to enhance player safety with new AI enabled tools, Xbox Auto Mod, for example, or AI integration for gaming. Satya Nadella briefly talked about this when we were consolidating Windows and the making the promise to enterprises. We've kind of figured out how we're going to incorporate that into gaming to keep your gaming more family friendly. For example, being able to, when somebody you beat somebody in Madden 54-3 and they're a little bit upset because they think, well, instead of taking a 5 step drop, you took the 20-step drop. So they couldn't sack your quarterback and you were just ballooning the ball over to your wide receiver. So you just ran up the score and totally upset this guy. Microsoft wants AI to be able to step in there and maybe stop the cursing, stop the argument, so you don't have to put up with those things in your gaming experience. Thank you for protecting the young kids out there. Us older adults, we probably want to hear that because we probably want to fire something back. So you may also be protecting our younger generation because they don't want to hear what we fire back.
It's a win-win for everybody. We got two more things on here that I don't know how they didn't get added in full here, but one of them was, I think these are both yours as well. Uh, Make sure I get it right. Oh, Microsoft 365 Premium push.
Yes, I'm going to switch tabs because, as you said, it did not get added. But to get you guys started into this, Microsoft, guess what? They want more money. They want
Seems to be
they
the theme of the day, huh?
they want you to buy Microsoft 365 Premium, which includes more Copilot features. Big surprise there. They need you to pay for that AI. So, $19.99 a month for your productivity powerhouse. Microsoft says gives you more Copilot queries, more image generation, access to specific agents. If you're interested in that type of thing, Microsoft Defender, that advanced security's in there for your 19.99. They gotta throw that value added in there where you get your monthly report on all of your PCs. You've got photo mode that you'll have access to in this version of Copilot. You've got research and visions that you'll have access to. You've got 1 terabyte of that cloud storage, so they've got to throw that in there. You will also be able to summon these agents in your Office documents to help you write and clarify your documents if needed. So I know I kind of glossed over that a little bit because I'm going to be honest. I don't think anybody's going to buy it. I'm sorry. I don't. When you tell me I'm going to pay $20 a month for Microsoft Office, no, it's kind of like paying $30 a month for Game Pass. I don't it kind of makes me mad, folks, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this correctly. I don't see where people are going to give Microsoft $50 a month to combine the two subscriptions together when we're already talking about the limits of Copilot and what people are seeing and the adoption rate. What's a photo agent? What's a research agent? Microsoft,
That's wrong question. Wrong question. How much
okay,
fun are you having? There we are. You can't put a price on fun. Look at that. There we go. Just give me the check.
true. So I don't. Microsoft hasn't told me what these things are. They're just telling me I'm getting access to them. They haven't shown me what I can do with them, so they're kind of making my point for me. What can AI do for me? I have no clue. But I got a photo agent, I got a research agent,
Damn it,
and
David. What are you, the feds? What's with all the questions? Just enjoy the tool in front of you.
what does it do?
Oh, God, get this guy out of here. He's killing us. Who let him in the room? That's Microsoft sales team right there for you.
I don't know. I just
Neither do
don't
they. Neither
see
do
where
they.
this.
We'll move on to our last one, which is briefly going to cover Amazon's event because you had it listed in the doc. They had some cool new looking tablets, I think. Was it? Yeah, tablet looking devices and the Echo 8. It was the Echo Show 8 and the Echo Show 11 that were redesigned with front-facing speakers, subwoofers in the rear, an increase in the viewing angles for both devices. I believe the 8 is pre-order. You can pre-order those for $179.99. The 11 will be $219.99. I think Panos, this is like Panos's big, uh, foray into everybody's consciousness as a Amazon employee now. I think he was interviewed afterwards, talking about the devices or whatnot. I mean, they look cool. They've
They
definitely
do
taken
look
their
better.
time. Yeah, they've taken their time to make everything look nice and redefined. I think with that being said, I think the prices are going to go up for those things as well, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, I did see where one speaker is now $99, and they were justifying the cost of the speaker based on performance. And there's even going to be home theater packages
Mm-hmm.
where you can bind or can group the speakers together to have a home theater experience. But I've just got one question.
Here you
How
go with the
many
questions. Didn't you get kicked out of the last meeting with all these questions? Yeah, never learns. Go ahead. What's your question?
how many more Amazon products are you going to be prompted to buy?
Get this guy out of here. That's a good question. I mean, but it's be honest though. These are, as I'm not a huge fan of Amazon by any means, but their value proposition continues to grow. When you can start to see that with Amazon Prime, you get discounts and all of this stuff, it just becomes easier to start incorporating it in your lives. I'm not saying you necessarily need it, that it's good for you, that it's the way to go, but there is a certain level of ecosystem and buy-in that people already have just by being, Prime members. You get the NFL on Thursdays. You get your deliveries within a day or two. Uh, you get Prime deals, discounts. You get music. You get storage if you put your photos and stuff on there. Day one movies as well. And I think with these devices, and if they're again just running Android and they're not running that weird Amazon OS, these are just good alternatives to Samsung's high priced while high quality tablets, but these are just good alternatives to those. If you don't want to buy a kid or your household another iPad, or say if your iPad is, 7, 8 years in the making, or, you need to upgrade to something new, but you don't have the money to. And again, Everyone's going to become price conscious very soon. And I don't think it's just here in the US, around the world. And a lot of these decisions won't be like, hey, all right, let's just get another $400 iPad. It's going to be like, oh, that thing over there's $200 and it does a little bit more in the household. We can learn to live with that. We can adjust, we can move, we can kind of multi-use all of these things. And I think that's going to be good for them.
I think you brought up a good point there. I think people are going to learn to live with things. I think maybe getting rid of some of the bells and whistles that an Apple iPad or a Samsung or even a Google Pixel tablet might bring you. It's just kind of like me. It was this past week, just to give you guys a 30 seconds real life. This past week, $149.99 hit my credit card unexpectedly. Now, what was it? It was my yearly Amazon Prime subscription. We use it. They've got us hooked in based on the free shipping. They're kind of like the Dollar General of corporate. They put warehouses everywhere. You can get things sometimes within a day, within a few hours. You can have it on your doorstep within 12 hours in a lot of places. So we have gotten addicted to that. We can press that buy now button and have it sometimes same day. And they have looped us into that one football game a week. Okay, you want to see that. They have looped you into those movies. Okay, you want to see that. Um, they've kind of built that ecosystem around that $150 a year payment that we all make. The hardware doesn't have to be iPad level or Samsung level. It has to integrate well with what we're already paying for. And I think it's going to, as you said, I think it's going to do that very well. And I think the future is bright for the old blue swoosh to say, yes, we're here. And, we've got Panos over here in the corner pushing buttons and pulling levers for us, to help make this work. And I think people are going to buy those because the iPod, what's the Apple speaker? The HomePod. The HomePod is expensive. The Google Nest that is coming out with the Google event this month, they bumped the entry level speaker to $99, and it doesn't come out to, as Paul Perot said, it doesn't come out to 2026. So way to go, Amazon. Keep it up. I didn't. Your first generation of product, I wasn't too sure about, but this generation kind of got a different feel. Keep going.
Yeah, it looks good. We're gonna get to our last thing, which is our free play days. What are we going out on the weekend on?
Well, I'm going out of the weekend by probably just gonna. Looks like we're gonna be shooting some things this weekend. We've got now on the video games, folks. On the video games, we've got the Call of Duty Black Ops 7 beta, which is live through October the 8th. We've got a few games up. We've got a 3-hour trial of Dustborn. We've got a 2-hour trial of Poltergeist Possession Party. And we've got a full weekend trial of Sudden Strike European Battlefields Edition. And I'm just going to remind you, we've also got a weekend trial of Ready or Not. So you've got 2 shooters in there, and if you're not a fan of shooters, you can give those other 2 a try. Now, something I noticed was a little different this weekend. There's not as many on sale this weekend, so I can't really shove you out the door and tell you, hey, make sure you buy all these. A lot of these this weekend are at regular price. I think. Let's see, what was the only one on sale? It was the European Battlefields Edition was down to $11.99. Ready or Not is at its regular price of $49.99. Dustborn was at its regular price of $29.99. And Poltergeist Possession Party was $14.99. And of course, The Black Ops 7 beta is free. There's no price on that. Again, if you're in that ultimate tier at $30 a month, then a month, hey, you can just swoop that right on into your library. But go check out some of these games this weekend. Play the beta. Give the Sudden Strike 4 European Battlefield a try. That looked interesting to me. But jump in there, get those free play days. Remember, you can get those from Xbox.com. Or to get another reminder of your subscription, when you turn on your Xbox, you're going to get a nice prompt if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber of all the nice things that have been added to Game Pass Ultimate, which basically boil down to why are you reminding me that you're going up in price? You can go down to your subscription, go down to free play days, and check these titles out.
Which one are you looking forward to this weekend?
I'm going to play the Sudden Strike 4 European Battlefields Edition. I just want to see what that is.
All right, that sounds not too bad, not too shabby. And where can people find you if they want to yell at you for wasting their time by choosing that one?
You can yell at me all you want. I'm a big guy. I can take it. I have thick skin. Blue Sky, David PAJ 1978. If you want to go talk to my buddy over here, he's more of a comics guy, more of a Marvel guy, maybe a little more laid back than I am. He's over there on Blue Sky. Where are you at, buddy?
I'm at Happy Hulk. Hence the title. Very happy. At Blue Sky. Yeah. I don't know if I'll be able to play this weekend. I got some medicine to take. I got a couch to lay on, but I do have a handheld, so maybe I could play some before I pass out. Yeah, you can find me at Happy Hulk. You can find me at Kareem Anderson on Threads as well. I am there occasionally. Other than that, I want you guys to go out, enjoy your health. Spoken to someone who's envious right now. Go out and enjoy the weather if you can. Go out and enjoy some food, some music, some sort of art, some sort of cinema, maybe movie, comic, book. If you want to enjoy football, enjoy sports, because I think women's rugby has also been pretty interesting to watch. You guys should go do that. Soccer if you can. Just go enjoy something. We say every weekend, whatever it be, please enjoy it for briefly or as long as you can, because that just makes life that much more enjoyable for everyone else. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for hanging out with us, and take care.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Connections made through every hall. Azure skies where spirits stall. In the cloud we stand tall.